Welcome to episode 24 of the Active Bariatric Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Tirapelli, bariatric sports dietitian. Today, I'm so excited to have on the podcast bariatric athlete Justin Schork, also known as Just Getting Started Fit on Instagram. Justin is 34 and married to his wife, Brittany, and they have two kids, Bryce and McKenna, and a dog named Beasley. He was born and raised in New Jersey and currently lives in South Jersey Shore. Justin works for Bank of America, Merrill Lynch in back office middle management. He had been overweight his whole life and had ups and downs where he would lose 50 pounds, but then gain back 70. He decided to have the vertical sleeve gastrectomy on September 22nd, 2021, and has lost approximately a total of 120 pounds from his highest to lowest weights, and is currently down 100 pounds from his surgery date. Thanks so much for being here today, Justin. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. So tell us a little bit more about why did you decide to have bariatric surgery? How's it changed your life?
Yeah. So like you said, I've been overweight my whole life, pretty much. I've had ups and downs, but mostly ups. And it really just came to a peak during COVID, working from home for a year and a half or 2 years, and just gaining the COVID 15 or 50 or 75, whatever it was. I gained all that. And it got to a point where I was just kind of depressed and just sitting there I guess I'll just be fat and overweight my whole life. It is what it is now. And really it was there's two amusement parks close to me, where I couldn't fit on the rides with my son. And they kind of really hit there. I knew I was getting big and I knew I was bigger. I was usually the biggest guy in the room. But not being able to put the bar down across my lap or, not being able to strap me in, just the disappointment on his face, the sadness on, he's only 2 at the time. So, but still just the sadness on his face. And I just decided kind of then that I didn't want to be that for him, or my family. So I talked with my wife about it. We knew a couple people who had it previously, in the family, friends, and we're pretty successful with it. And then pretty much once I talked to her about it, and she wasn't thrilled with the idea, but she definitely supported it. And it was just off to the races from there. I made a consult with Garden State Bariatrics and had my surgery about 6 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you have pre-op requirements? Did you have to lose weight before surgery or anything that you learned from that pre-op
I
phase?
did. I had the nutritionist for, the 4 weeks, I think it was. I had the psych eval, all that good stuff. I lost probably about 10 pounds pre-op. And, I definitely I tried to learn how to eat more slowly and chew my food and not to drink while I'm eating and stuff like that. But, those are hard habits to break after 35 years.
Totally.
So it's still a struggle a little bit. I still like to have sips of water and everything while I'm drinking, small sips.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then
I know it's a process. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Just as far as what it's changed in my life, it's really changed everything. There's nothing that hasn't been affected, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, relationships. It's just, it's crazy. It's given me so much more confidence just walking around. It's made me more empathetic towards people, just kind of knowing that everyone has something going on no matter what it is, especially with people who are overweight. It's maybe I guess more introspective. I kind of look into why I think the way I do now and, try to make corrections where I think corrections are needed.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that you said that because, I think that going through the process, everybody learns different things and, implements different things and how it's changed your life. But I love to hear that you're more empathetic about, how everyone's got their own, struggles and issues and we don't know what's happening in someone's life. And I appreciate that you said that. Right. So I assume that you're happy that you went through with it.
Oh yeah. Best decision I've ever made. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about, because I love your Instagram page, and that's where I've been following you for a while. And I know you were on Rob's, Maintenance Monday as well recently, and enjoyed that. And I love to hear about these body composition changes and how, you've increased your strength training and all these things. And I wanted to ask, to kind of back up a little bit, tell us a little bit about your exercise history. Like before surgery, did you used to lift a lot or play sports, or tell us about that?
Yeah. So I never played like organized sports in school. I was just kind of never wanted to be at school more than I had to be.
Sure.
But when me and my wife, I guess, first started dating, 2014, I don't want to get myself in trouble here, but so when we first started dating, I was in decent shape and I was going to the gym. I was lifting, but like nothing like what I know now. I pretty much only knew that push is, chest and triceps, and pull is back and biceps. And that's kind of just what I went with the whole time. And now that looking back on that, it's just like, there's just so much more to learn. There's so many more principles, technique, all that stuff. But like going back to organized sports, just a quick story. I had in middle school, 6th grade, I went out for the wrestling team. And I guess in middle school, everyone makes the wrestling team, right? So I was wrestling at super heavyweight, and most schools didn't have somebody for me to wrestle. And like, they didn't have kids that heavy. And I was just, that's kind of when I realized like, oh, wow, I'm bigger than everybody else,
Sure.
But that was my organized sports story. And that's about it.
Yeah. So it sounds like this was something that you'd struggled with, the majority of your life.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I said, trying to be more introspective. I'm trying to look into what it is, what it was.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I know I've always loved food. I've just, I remember at family parties when I was little and everything, always being around the snack table, and, my mom being like, hey, calm down with the snacks a little bit. You're eating a lot of snacks. And, and then with growing up, my mom, my parents got divorced when I was 3 years old. So my mom raised 3 boys on her own, mostly on her own. And it was just, she was working all the time. So it was always like Hot Pockets for dinner, or Hungry Man meals for dinner, or Pop-Tarts for breakfast, because we were always just busy, gotta get to work, gotta get to school. So, I'm starting to think back to that a lot as like kind of the root of everything.
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting when you kind of look back and think about, what's impacted my journey thus far, and what would be things that I would do differently. I know I'm kind of similar. I have 3 kids too. And I'm always like, okay, what do I want to do different with my kids, nutritionally or whatever, to keep it a positive and healthy environment, and, that kind of thing. Definitely. And do you feel like you have changed things for your family since you've had your surgery based on, nutrition?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It's hard to explain. I try to think of it like not as like healthy versus unhealthy foods now and all that.
Right.
But
totally.
It's hard to explain to 4-year-olds that premise. Yeah. So everything is healthy versus non-healthy. So whatever they're eating, is this healthy? Yeah. Is this healthy? Yeah. Kind of. Not really. In moderation, a little bit.
Exactly.
So, they get a lot of that. A lot of those questions in.
No, I think that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about, what are your current training goals? So I know you've been, I looked on your Instagram recently and you said you were kind of trying to reduce body fat. It sounded like, tell us a little bit about, what are your goals?
Yeah. Right now I'm on a cut, I guess. And it's like my first true cut besides the surgery, obviously, where I'm trying to maintain muscle or build muscle at the same time.
Yeah.
And I started in March and then got kind of thrown off. The week of Easter was my daughter's birthday as well. So it was like, we went to this place called the Sugar Factory, of all places, for her birthday, which was all like cakes and shakes and desserts. And then Easter threw me off. So it kind of pushed me back a little bit, but yeah, I want to lose, I guess, in terms of pounds at this point, another 10 pounds. But it's more really just about the aesthetic and the look that I want. I want to get I had, for the first time ever, abs last summer. Yeah. So I wanted to get that back a little bit. And that's what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully be wrapping that up around June.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about so what are your workouts looking like right now? How many times do you work out a week? What are your duration of your workouts? Give us a little background on that.
Yeah, sure. So it's usually 5 to 6 days a week. With the kids and schedules, it's tough to find time. I usually go at night. I'm there usually from 8 p.m., 8:30, 9 to 11, 10. So it usually runs me about 2 hours. I do a push-pull leg split. So I try to hit each muscle group pretty much 2 times a week. and 3 to 4 exercises per muscle group per session.
Yeah.
My reps, I keep it between 8 and 12 working sets. I do a couple warm-up sets before. And I try to throw in maybe like a max set or a burnout set, every 1 or 2 exercises, just to get the blood flowing and keep me warmed up. And then from there, I think one of the biggest things is I don't deadlift and I don't squat. So like people are like, what?
Okay.
How do you work out but not
why?
deadlift or not squat? So I had lower back issues back in the day.
Okay.
And while I was deadlifting, I was going to a doctor and chiropractor, and he was just pretty much just like, are you competing? Then don't deadlift. Unless your form is absolutely perfect on those, you're going to hurt your back. So just don't do it. So, I do other things to work my lower back extensions and stuff like that. And then squatting, I have bad knees. So I've torn my meniscus in both my knees. They lock. I got to pop them out every once in a while.
That hurts.
Yeah. It used to hurt, but now I'm just like so used to it. It's just like, just a quick pop. But so I don't do those 2 exercises. I use machines for hack squats and stuff like that to, supplement. But as far as like barbell, deadlift and squat, I definitely don't do any of that.
Yeah. And I think that's I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think, when we think of traditional lifting, those are traditional movements, that people would utilize for, lower strength movements. And I think, but you can see that there's tons of other options as well to allow you to still be able to gain strength in your lower body with just other compound movements that you can do, do you do, what other type of leg, you use machines, so like leg extensions, things like that, hamstring curl, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Curl machines, the extensive machines, even the Smith machine, I can squat with the Smith machine a little bit. I love leg press, even though a lot of people are against the leg press and think it's not optimal. Not everything has to be optimal. It's just like, you gotta just do what you like and do what you can do, really.
Yeah, totally. And what have you learned over these years that you've started, doing these lifting and things like that since you had your surgery? What have you learned? Like what do you enjoy doing in terms of your lifts? What have you learned?
In terms of specific exercises I like? Or
just things that, like the way that you work out, you feel like you said you like to go at nighttime, you do the splits. Was like before surgery, did you do it a different way, but now you found that this is a better way for you?
So I think I always kind of did the push-pull split. But it's just, just learning so many of the principles now, the progressive overload technique, the angles at which your shoulder should be when you're shoulder pressing to not rip your arm out. And, it's all those like minute details that just kind of, they're minute details, but they play such a huge role in the building of muscle and maintaining of muscle and all that.
Totally. Gosh, I love that you said that. That's exactly, I agree. And let's talk a little bit about, fueling for your workouts. Cause that's another thing I love on your Instagram is you always kind of show your meals, you put up there your calories, macros, and things like that. Has your nutrition changed from obviously from when you initially had surgery, but have you kind of put more focus into it over time since you've been lifting more?
Yeah, definitely. I really didn't know how to fuel my workouts previously. When I was losing the weight, but kind of past stage 4 and really eating all my regular foods and stuff. I just kind of ate whatever at that point. I was down 100 pounds. I was, lifting still. And so I just kind of loosened the reins a little bit, maybe maintained to gain a little bit. And, kind of looked at that and saw that I wasn't really eating the whole foods, the single ingredient foods, and really the stuff that, like you said, or whoever said, the minute details. You can eat McDonald's and lose weight if you're under your calories, but your body composition isn't going to be the same as eating chicken and rice and broccoli, So it was definitely learning that, and now getting into more of that where I still allow myself pieces of candy a day or whatever it is. And but I have my pre-workout meals, I have my post-workout meals. Throughout the day, I'm thinking kind of how my food is going to fuel me. I time my protein. I try to spread it out throughout the day. And with pre and post workout, it's definitely more carb timing. Definitely low on the carbs for dinner. And I learned how to do that with refined carbs and complex carbs. When to eat those. It's definitely a learning experience. But definitely learned how to fuel my workouts better, and I see the difference and feel the difference for sure.
Yeah. Well, give us so what do you typically have pre-workout? What kinds of things do you enjoy?
So dinner, I'll have pretty much it's all the same. It's like usually a chicken protein source or a poultry protein source, rice and the vegetable. It's really, I was doing fats for a while and then realized how much fat consumption pre-workout can kind of inhibit things. So I stopped, I was eating avocado, I was eating good fats and all that, but still, still see the difference between just cutting out the fat pre-workout. And then, like right before the gym, I'll have some sort of quick digesting carb. I'll have a piece of candy, crackers, whatever, just a quick little snack just to give me a little boost. Post-workout, it's more protein based. I'll have a protein shake or a protein bar, and then something to fill me up a little bit because I'm always hungry after I work out, and I know it's 11 o'clock at night or midnight, and I'm still eating, and I know my weight's going to be up in the morning and all that, but usually a rice cake or something to fill me up.
Yeah. Something just to feel satisfied and you can go to sleep. Yeah. You know what I love? So a couple nutritional key things that you're doing that I just want to, cheer you on for because you're doing awesome is that you're having that more balanced meal. The dinner is kind of your pre-workout meal, which you're having the protein, you're having the carbohydrates. And I always, appreciate, especially that you highlighted, I've reduced the fat pre-workout because, foods that are high in fat and fiber pre-workout don't usually sit well. Did you notice before, like you just felt like it was heavy, sitting heavy in your stomach?
Definitely. I was bogged down, bloated, all that.
Yeah. And I love that you have a little blast of additional carbohydrate right before the workout. And that helps you kind of get through the workout with some energy. Do you drink anything during the workout or take anything with you in the workout besides water?
I do drink water throughout the workout and I have pre-workout before I go in there too. So. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I love the post-workout too, that you're focused on the protein because that's where that, we want to make sure we're recovering and healing, and that protein post-workout, even with a little bit of carbohydrate for the glycogen restoration is key. So it sounds like you're doing an awesome job. I can tell that you're mindful about it. It sounds like you're paying a lot of attention.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's all I'm focused on, but when it comes down to it, it's kind of everything throughout my day plays into how my workout is going to go. So whether it's my mood or what I eat or any of that, it's kind of how it goes.
Sure. And are there maybe there's a key nutritional strategy that you're this has totally worked for you that's enhanced your workouts? Is there anything that you can think of?
Specifically for my workouts, in the moment, not really. I think just the reverse dieting, kind of coming back up slowly or going back down slowly. To keep your metabolism and not kind of crash your body is something that I'm definitely more cognizant of now. And then, like I said, the carb loading before a workout and those types of things.
That's helped. Yeah. I was going to say, I love that that you mentioned that word gradually, because I think a lot of times, especially, after the surgery, and it's exciting because you're losing weight and it's okay, now I want to go lift and you're like, hey, I want to gain muscle. And it's easy to be like, all right, what do I need to, just jump up a bunch of calories or, double my protein intake. And it's hard to do that after bariatric surgery to do, big jumps. And I appreciate that you've learned that, doing it gradually both directions typically works.
Yeah. I follow Alan Aragon a lot and Brandon
he's wonderful.
And people like that who just kind of, have that evidence-based approach to it. And, definitely try to learn from Gabrielle Lyons too. She's great. But try to follow them and kind of, I obviously don't do the in-depth research like they do. But I take what they say kind of wholeheartedly and go by it.
Yeah, I highly recommend Alan Aragon's book, Flexible Dieting. I think was really a great resource. It talks all about different phases of whether you want to gain muscle, you want to lean out while, maintaining muscle mass. He's got a great book that
I'll definitely check it out.
So anyways, talk to me a little about, do you incorporate any other supplements or anything like that have helped you with muscle gaining outside of your nutritional intake?
I do the protein powder. I still have 2 to 3 protein shakes a day with 1 or 2 bars a day. So I'm trying to get in 200 grams of protein a day. So that's just a lot for, trying to consume
it is
through chicken and steak and seafood. But creatine, I take creatine daily and my multivitamins, obviously. Alpha GPC I take for my cognitive skills a little bit. I feel like it makes me a little bit sharper. It might just be a placebo, but I'm kind of playing with it now to see how it goes. And a lot of that is in pre-workout too. A lot of alpha GPCs are in pre-workout. So, and yeah, just my pre-workout. I'm kind of a caffeine junkie now, which I don't know if, weigh the pros and cons of that, but I'm trying to slow down with the caffeine too, trying to take like non-stim pre-workouts and stuff like that too.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, caffeine's certainly an ergogenic aid. And, obviously after bariatric surgery, usually initially it's not recommended, but over time folks can reincorporate it for sure. And, there's a lot of myths out there about caffeine being a dehydrator. And, what the research has really suggested is that it takes a significantly high level of caffeine to really increase urine output. And so I know when I've talked with folks about, coffee, is it okay? Can I count it? I'm always like, yeah, I mean, it's part of your fluids. If it was like your only fluid throughout the day, probably not a good idea, but if you're incorporating some coffee or caffeine in your morning, or before your workout as an ergogenic aid, it can certainly be helpful, so, and I was going to ask you, what's your dosage for creatine that you're taking?
5 grams. I did just do a 5 gram scoop and mix it in my pre-workout. Sometimes if I, on my off days and I forget to take my creatine, I'll just double scoop it the next day. See how, it works. It works for me.
Yeah, no, totally. And the thing about creatine is that it takes time to saturate the muscle if you're doing that 3 to 5 gram daily dose. And, even if you miss it here and there, as long as you're taking it consistently, it will help to be, that energy source to allow you to do more repetitions and see gains. And of course I'll just comment, since we're on the podcast, for those listening, always talk to your doctor before starting supplements, but definitely I would agree with you. Protein powders and things like that, you have to find what works for you in terms of meeting your protein goals. Because for you, you said you're trying to meet 200 grams in a day, and that's hard to do eating chicken, and steak, especially when you're somewhat limited in portions. And, that's where those types of products can play a role in your intake. And it sounds like that's working for you.
Yeah, definitely. And with the restriction and even trying to cut, I spoke with Rob Motivation. He gave me some advice. Don't push your restriction. Like, you're still going to try to eat a lot of food, even though you're cutting. Just don't push your restriction. If you can't handle it, you can't handle it. And then that's where, the extra shakes definitely come into play.
Yeah. No, that's good advice. Just listening to your body for sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about, like, how's your mindset changed? Like, did you ever imagine that you would be where you are today, before your surgery? Tell us a little bit about that.
Definitely not. Like I said, pre-surgery, I was kind of depressed looking back on it now. And, I guess the stages of denial and grief and all that stuff. I went through all that. And really, when I started working out post-op, my goal was never this or what I'm doing now. It was just to lose 100 pounds. Like, that was it. That was my goal. And, I was doing half an hour of cardio and doing all this and that. And then once I started seeing the results, it kind of shifted into like, all right, I can definitely recomp my whole body doing what I'm doing right now. And it's kind of, I don't want to say I stumbled into it, because I definitely did some research and looked into things, but, kind of did stumble into it. I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is cool. I like this. I like where this is going. Then, I just kind of ran with it. Also, just knowing that my leanest wasn't necessarily my best for my body. I might've looked the best, but I definitely didn't feel the best. Had that brain fog and all that stuff that kind of, bogs you down throughout the day and really does affect your workouts negatively.
Sure.
So once I got down to, I think I was about 180 pounds, which I was 180 pounds in, middle school pretty much.
Right.
So
sure.
I was at 180 pounds. I was like, all right, maybe I need to gain some weight back. And my mom was like the typical Italian mother, like, you're getting too skinny now. I can see your cheekbones and all that. But yeah, definitely, being your leanest is not your best necessarily. That's a big thing that kind of shook me, because I always thought the thinner or the leaner I am, the better I would be, but that's definitely not the case.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's an important point because I think a lot of times, we look at the number on the scale and it's like, oh, we've got to get down to this
Right.
arbitrary number. But like, is it realistic for my life, my family? Can I eat this way? How do I feel? Like you said, you had some brain fog being at that point, and I think that's an important point that it's not always the lowest isn't always the best, in terms of
Right.
where you want to
Yeah,
be.
100%.
Yeah. So tell me about, what's a piece of advice that you would give to someone that, has had bariatric surgery and they now want to start, maybe beginning lifting to start changing body composition? Any advice for that?
Get your protein in. Definitely get a lot of protein in. I guess if you're overweight, it shouldn't be the 1 pound or 1 gram per pound of body weight that everyone just kind of throws out there, including myself. I did too until I learned that it should be lean body mass really.
Yep.
Definitely consume a lot of protein. Don't be afraid of carbs. Be consistent. Just stay with it. Within a month or two, if you're consistent with your nutrition and your programming, everything's going to change. In just 2 months, you'll see it. No matter how overweight you were, and then that kind of just pushes you to keep it going and go further.
Yeah. And that consistency and that progress over time is it's a good momentum builder. So
Definitely.
To speak.
Also, another thing is track it with pictures, track your workouts, track your macros, but track your pictures too. Take your progress pictures because even from where I am today to where I was 2 months ago I still see a difference. And it's shocking because sometimes you can get down on yourself and like feel like, oh, I hit a plateau or, I'm kind of just going through the motions of a workout. I'm not really training with a purpose, so that definitely gives you like a boost of confidence to keep it going too.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice because again, like getting away from just the scale and that kind of thing, but visually it's hard to see it ourselves, right? But if you track it and you're taking pictures, definitely can see that progress over time. I think that's a great piece of advice. And if you could look back and talk to Justin pre-operatively, what would you tell him?
This is going to be the best decision you ever made. It's going to change everything for you, and you'll be a new person. You'll be you, but you'll be a new person. Different mindsets, different mentalities, obviously different body, different father, different husband. So it's just kind of it impacts. You think it's just going to impact your weight? It impacts everything.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate it. And can you tell our audience a little bit more about where they can follow you or contact you with questions about, their journeys?
Definitely. Anybody can reach out, DM me. I'm on Instagram most actively. I have a Twitter, but I feel like I kind of missed the Twitter boat and just can't catch up. So just find me on Instagram. It's Just Getting Started Fit. There's underscores in between each word. And I'll be happy to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and just kind of what goes into your individual, day to day and story. Because like I said, and when I'm interviewing other folks, I think it's so helpful to, number one, learn from each other, find out what works because everybody's different and you have to find what works best for you. But I think what I really appreciate today is just the fact that how your mindset has changed over your journey and how you've changed your workout routine, how you've focused more on nutrition over time. And I think that those, pieces of advice are so helpful. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Like I told you before, I followed you and learned so much from you, and just the guests that you've had on before this. It's an honor to be here. So thank you for having me, and definitely we'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Well, everybody, just so you know, you can watch the full episode of this podcast on my YouTube channel, the Active Bariatric Nutrition channel. So give it a like and a follow so that you know when we post new videos. And you can also follow me on social media. I have an Instagram, which is @Active Bariatric. I also have TikTok and Facebook. And if you'd like to learn more about my one-to-one bariatric nutrition coaching services, please go to my website, which is activebariatricnutrition.com, and schedule a free discovery call so that we can learn more about each other and get going on some new goals. So again, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in this week. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate your time, and we'll do this again next week. Thanks, everybody.